Hi, hello, how are you? I am so happy you're here. If you're new here, my name is Whitley, and today we are going to be reading the scariest books on my TBR. With Halloween being right around the corner, I really wanted to pick out some books that I thought had the real potential to give me that heart racing fear, really see if any of these books can scare me. It is rare that I get that from a book. I usually do need something a little bit more visual, like a movie or a TV show, but that is not to say that it has not happened in the past, so I know it is possible, and that is what I am on the hunt for today. Of course, fear and scariness in general is so subjective, but I'm going to try to pick some books that I feel have real potential to, get my heart racing. And if not, downright scare me, at least make me feel something. I think really anything done in the right way does have the potential to scare me, but I definitely do have some subgenres and some tropes that usually do get me more than others. First and absolute foremost, we have possession, ghost stories, haunted houses, things of the supernatural persuasion. This has always been such a huge fear of mine since I was a child, so books that feature these do tend to lean a little bit more scarier for me. So a lot of possession, haunted house books have worked for me in the past and do a really good job at giving me the spooks. Dystopian horror is another thing that always works for me and always gives me the heebie-jeebies. Another thing that always gets me is tight claustrophobic spaces. And finally, just the horrors of humanity, the real monsters. Those are just to name a few. Like I said, there are so many subgenres of horror that I absolutely love, and really anything does have the potential to scare me. But these are some of the ones that have consistently been the scariest to me. So we are going to try to gravitate towards some of those subgenres in the hopes of getting the best chance of getting scared this week. I don't have a set TBR for the week, but I do have quite a few books that I kind of have my eye on. I know I definitely want to get around to Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach. I don't know a lot about the actual plot of this book. I just know that I have seen so many people say that this is one of the scariest books they've ever read. I know we're like recounting the past events of our main character and kind of going through all of the trauma that he had as a child. So I think this is definitely going to fit into that category of the horrors of humanity. I've seen that this is very paranoia inducing and just chilling, so I definitely want to get to this one this week. I would also really like to get to something that has that paranormal aspect, looking for like a haunted house story, a possession. So I do have my eye on The Haunting of Ashburn House by Darcy Coates. I feel like so many people really enjoy her work, especially around this time of year, the spooky season. She feels like one of those quintessential, autumn spooky time authors. So I would love to try her out and see if she's for me. I'm also really intrigued by The Lamb by Lucy Rose. Reading the synopsis did kind of remind me of Brother, which definitely made me even more intrigued. There is this young woman who lives with her mother in the woods, and they take in strays, and I think there's some cannibalism. I've also been really wanting to try something from David Sodergren. I've heard so many good things about The Har, The Forgotten Island, Maggie's Grave, so I'm thinking maybe I will try to get to one of David Sodergren's works. I'm also debating on picking something up from Eric LaRocca. I have loved so many of his books in the past, and although most of them don't, scare me, they never fail to make me feel something, usually disgust, but I am so here for it. So Eric LaRocca is always a good option as well. So many options. I'm not sure what I will be picking up, but you probably already know from the thumbnail, but present me, no clue. The world is my oyster. I do know that the first thing I will be picking up is Pen Pal. I will definitely be getting to that in this vlog, so super excited about that. As for everything else, we'll kind of see what calls to me as the week progresses, but speaking of so excited, I also have Halloween Horror Nights this week. I am so excited. I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of the inspiration for this video, so I wanted to spend a week getting as scared as I possibly could. So my hope is this week is going to be filled with fear and fun, and I cannot wait. So without further ado, let's get into the first book, shall we? Hello, friends. I am about 50% of the way through Pen Pal. I am on page 110 and it's only 240 pages, so I'm a little under halfway. And I am really loving this so far. The first chapter was such a unique start. It starts with our main character in the present day, kind of setting the scene of what the book is going to be and talking about him having to like dig through his mind to recollect all of these memories, but also the absolute fallibility of memories. So I absolutely loved the first chapter. It was such a good start. I am also just so interested in the conversation and topic of memories, how they are so fallible and subjective, but I'm also really enjoying the rest of the book. So after we get through that first chapter of him kind of giving us a foreword into the novel, each chapter is like a flashback to a time and place in his childhood. It starts when he's like 5 or 6, and we have seen up until 5th grade. Each chapter really does feel like its own little contained short story, but they all share the same characters. Each chapter, of course, is surrounded around our unnamed main character, and he lives with his mother and then spends a lot of time with his best friend Jake. And each chapter is just kind of like a snippet of his childhood and something that, really creepy happened to him. Each story, each chapter really had me on the edge of my seat. They all start, pretty normal, but there are just these little creepy sprinkles throughout the entire thing that really make you feel uneasy. But then the end of the chapter really hit you with a big reveal or a big twist. This is the formula that the chapters so far have been following anyway, and I am just really enjoying it. Some of these sections, some of the parts in this book were making me want to read through my fingers. It was giving me that feeling then when you're watching a horror movie and you're just waiting for something to pop out. I was getting that from some sections in this, which is exactly what I was looking for. There aren't any, so far anyway, there aren't any jump scares or monsters, but the author does such a good job at evoking this suspense and dread. It is incredibly eerie, super creepy. The atmosphere is really claustrophobic, especially the sections in the woods, and it's really paranoia inducing. The most mundane little things will be happening throughout the story, but it makes you question are these mundane characters do they have ulterior motives? Are they more than they seem? Every little comment just feels like it could be malicious. So it really makes you kind of question everything that you're reading. And there's just this constant feeling of unease. I am really liking the writing style so far. I do kind of feel like there are some points where the author is kind of throwing in, big $5 words, but, I'm here for it. This is definitely reminiscent of old, internet creepypastas, so it's actually kind of giving me a little bit of nostalgia, which I'm enjoying. I don't want to say too much about the plot because I really do feel like going into this knowing as little as possible is the best way to kind of go into this, because I feel like anything that I tell you about the plot is just, it's gonna spoil something. So just know that I am loving it so much so far. This reads so quickly and I cannot wait to get back into it. I'm really hoping that we find out more about this, pen pal. I'm really hoping that we get what their motivation is, why they are seemingly stalking this child and what is going on, because there is just so much unknown at this point, and I think that is also enhancing the uneasiness and the fear. We have no idea what's going on. We are just getting these little stories and snippets, but we do not have, the bigger picture. But I am so gripped. I'm having such a great time. I am also just feeling so spooky today. I have my freaking bats choker on. If you know, you know.
It's freaking bats. I love Halloween.
I also put on some super cute nails last night. They are bloody French tips. Adore them. They also feel really good. They fit my nails really well. They are a little curved, so I'm questioning how long they're going to actually stay on, because it seems like the ones that are kind of curved seem to pop up on my nails more frequently than kind of the flat ones, but we'll see. I'm optimistic. I put them on yesterday, so we'll see how long they last. Halloween Horror Nights is tomorrow, and I am so excited. Sydney and I finished Fallout last night because we needed to watch that before we go to Halloween Horror Nights because they have a Fallout house. So we wanted to watch the TV show because that is what it's based on more than the video game, which we're both familiar with, but we wanted to watch the show. So we finished that last night. And then tonight, we are going to watch Terrifier 3. We watched 1 and 2 last Halloween, I think, but we were going to save Terrifier 3 till this Christmas. But since there is a Terrifier house at Halloween Horror Nights, we had to watch it because there's obviously going to be sets from all 3 movies, especially the most recent one. So we had to watch it before we go through the house. So we are going to watch that tonight. So I am going to go make dinner and then we are going to watch Terrifier 3 and hopefully I can get a chapter or 2 read of Pen Pal before bed. So I will check back in tomorrow when I have an update. We are here at HHN at Universal Studios here in Orlando. I am so excited. We have about 30 minutes until they'll actually let us in the gates. So we're just kind of killing time at the moment. But I am so excited. We are going to see how much we can actually get done in one night. We are able to get into the park at 3. So we have a couple extra hours before the park actually opens to try to get as many houses down as we can. So we will see how much we can actually get done in one night. Hello friends, I am back. I am at the park today because it is another gorgeous day and we went to Halloween Horror Nights last night and I am exhausted. We had such a good time, but we did over 12 hours of walking and standing. So we are exhausted and I want to do nothing today but chillax and read my book. So I decided I would come to the park, bring out my hammock, and just relax and do some reading. I did manage to read a couple more chapters of Pen Pal in the time since I have spoke to you last. I don't really have any updates for you. I've read two more chapters and short stories. I believe I have 1 or 2 more left. Same thoughts, nothing really to update you with. I will let you know when I have finished. Still very much unknown. I have no idea what's going on with him and his little pen pal, but I'm excited to find out. I also really thought that I was not going to get to read this week. This was something that I was really wanting to try to read this week for the scariest books, but I didn't think it was going to be available at my library. And then I come home last night after Halloween Horror Nights and I find How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. So I also brought this because I am so close to finishing Pen Pal. If I finished it, I wanted to be able to read something else, so I brought this as well that I am hopefully going to get to start today. So I am hopefully going to be finishing this up and then starting this. So my plans are just to sit here for the next hour or two and read and relax and recoup. Hello, friends. It is the next day. I had such a great time at the park yesterday. I am so glad that I took my hammock down and just went and relaxed for a few hours. I hadn't done that before, but I've seen so many people do it at that park. So I decided that I would take my hammock down and try it out myself. And I'm so glad I did. It was so nice. I needed some chill, relaxed time after Halloween Horror Nights. I went into it a little bit in the last clip, but it was exhausting. We stood slash walked for over 12 hours, and I'm pretty proud of what we managed to accomplish. We went through every single house, which I wasn't sure was going to be able to be done. We didn't get everything we wanted to get done. We didn't see every single thing, but the only thing we missed was one of the shows. So for one night, I think that was pretty impressive. But I will say I am not sure I will ever do that again. Like, is it possible to go through all 10 houses in one night? Yes. Would I recommend it? No. No, I would not. Regardless of how exhausting and sometimes painful it was, gosh, it was so much fun. The houses were spectacular and we just had such a good time. But after the non-stop day, that was Thursday, I needed a chill day. And while I was at the park, I did manage to finish Pen Pal. And what an unsettling ending. Like, that word can pretty much sum up this entire book. Unsettling. With having that, like creepy pasta feel, some aspects of the ending were predictable, but what actually happened and like how it was done was so chilling and so well done. The formula of the chapters did stay the same throughout, like every chapter was its little own short story, which I absolutely loved. I do still think that some of the chapters could have been cut down a little. Not that there were any chapters that I disliked, but I mean, I did have my favorites, of course, but I just feel like some of the mundane descriptions and a lot of the exposition and lead up to the actual, creepy stuff happening could have been cut down. And although he did a great job of really connecting all of those small pieces to the bigger creepy twist, like we did kind of need that lead up, but I feel like some of it was just a tad boring. I feel like it could have been cleaned up a little bit. The story would have been no less creepy, no less understandable with some of that excess description in some of the chapters, taken out and cut down a little bit. But overall, I had such a fun time with this book. It was definitely eerie and creepy and unsettling, and it fit the vibe that I was looking for so perfectly. But the real question is, did it scare me? I would say that it did. A couple of parts had me like gripping my face and like biting my nails. It had me so tense, like anticipating this dreadful reveal at the end of every chapter. It was so good. I mean, did it ever give me like heart racing terror? know, but there are so many different kinds of fear. And I think I would be doing this book a bit of a disservice if I said that it in no way scared me, because it did. Like I said, it just really had this constant unsettling tone throughout the entire thing. It really had me on the edge of my seat throughout every single chapter. And I think for what it is and for what it was trying to do, it was done incredibly well. I'm going to give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. And if you are familiar with like creepypastas back in the day, I think you would absolutely love this. And even if you're not familiar with creepypastas, this really does kind of give like a nostalgic ghost story vibes. Something that would be told around a fire, you know, while you're camping or like on a haunted hayride. It kind of reminded me of those like scary stories to tell in the dark books that I absolutely loved as a child. It's giving that. So if you are a fan of that, I would highly recommend this one as well. I also managed to get 100 pages into How to Sell a Haunted House yesterday. Some of that was at the park and then some of it was before bed last night, but I am liking this so far. It's not as creepy as I was hoping. Granted, we're just 100 pages in, so I'm only about a quarter of the way through, but it is a lot more family focused than I was expecting. So in this, we are following our main character, Louise, whose parents have just passed away. So she has to go back to her hometown to kind of settle the estate with her brother, who her and her brother do not get along. Her brother is like rotating from dead end job to dead end job, and he seems to kind of resent the fact that she is so successful. And because he is always so down on his luck, the parents really seem to always side with him. They just got read their parents' wills, and now I think they are going to have to kind of work together to get everything settled, even though they are really estranged and just seem to not like each other very much. I do foresee that, I'm hoping anyway, that, you know, they do kind of rekindle that sibling connection. But I will say one thing about Grady Hendrix, he does such a good job at making unlikable characters. I remember when I read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, I don't remember ever reading a book that made me so viscerally angry at the characters in a book. Like, he does such a good job at making you like despise these characters. And right now I'm feeling that towards Mark, this brother. I'm hoping that, you know, he gets redeemed and by the end, you know, it is kind of about their family connection and that their relationship is salvaged. But right now, not a fan of Mark. There has been a couple of creepy things that have happened with these dolls. So their mother was really into dolls and puppets. So there are these dolls and puppets around the house. And I know that that is going to be a big focus in this book. So I am looking forward to getting more of that. I'm really hoping that that does become more of a aspect in this. We've gotten a little couple glimpses, but like I said, nothing really spooky has happened yet. Nothing really scary. There has been like 1 or 2 things that have happened that are like a little spooky scary with these dolls, but I'm really hoping that we are going to get some more of that because right now it really just has been about the family. So it's decent so far. I'm liking it. I like Grady Hendrix writing. I'm just hoping that we do get some more like spooky, scary vibes. I am actually getting ready to head out. I'm gonna go pick up my mom, and me, my mom, my niece are going to go to this little pumpkin patch. I'm so excited. It looks super cute. So we're gonna go spend a couple hours there, get into the fall spirit, and we'll see where the rest of the weekend takes me. I'm not sure I have any other plans other than trying to get as much read as I can. It is quite a trek down to my mom, so I will have tons of audiobook listening time. I'm reading How to Sell a Haunted House. I was reading it physically along with the audiobook, so I probably will pop on the audiobook on my way down and on the way back. So I should get a good chunk of that done today on my drive, so that's great. So I will check back in with you when I have an update. Happy autumn, friends. Look at the baby! I feel like we're being hunted.
We are being stalked by Austin.
We are.
If you find this tape, we didn't survive.
Oh shoot.
Grandma's flat tire now.
We're running through the cornfield.
Oh, we're way away from it now.
I apparently need to be careful what I wish for because this got way more intense and way more strange since my last update with you. I am on page 294. I just reached part 4, depression, and what a battle I just witnessed. There are some things about what I just read that really don't make sense to me. I can't really get into the specifics of what is bothering me without going into spoilers, but there are some things that just don't really make sense to me. Like, they tried to do a thing and they couldn't quite do it, but then one of them tries again and it's super easy. So I don't know, that's just bothering me a little bit, but I am glad that I didn't give up on it. I was questioning whether to truck through it there at the beginning, but I am glad that I persevered because I am liking it more than I was the last time I spoke to you, especially now that we've gotten some action. The horror and the spooks have definitely amplified. Both of our siblings do have some pretty dark pasts and secrets that they have just shared with each other. So through that like shared trauma bonding, they are seeming to get a little bit closer. And it seems that now they really have to work together to try to get rid of this evil that is in their house so they can sell it and move on with their lives. But, you know, that's kind of hard to do when there is something in the house that is seeking revenge and is actively trying to kill one of these siblings. These dolls and these puppets are so unsettling. One of these puppets is an absolute homicidal maniac with mommy issues and is so creepy. I would never step foot back in this house after witnessing a fraction of what these characters have witnessed. Like, my ass would have been out the door on page 20. You know it's bad when one of the characters suggests just burning the whole place down, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like the correct course of action. Sorry if the angle's a little bit different. The sun was absolutely blinding me. Anyway, I also want to mention that Grady Hendrix must love his attic scenes and his garage scenes because they are absolutely iconic in his books. When you enter an attic or a garage in a Grady Hendrix novel, you know crap's about to go down. Mark has come around for me a little bit. We do learn that he went through some pretty terrible things when he was a very small child and also in his recent history. But, you know, his sister also went through some pretty terrible things, and he is not remorseful for his horrendous behavior in the beginning of this book, even after learning that, you know, his sister's had it rough too. So I'm still not a huge fan, but I mean, he is not as despicable as he was in the very beginning. But like I said, I am liking it more now. I am liking the action. I am liking the horror. I'm liking the tenseness. I'm liking the creepiness of these dolls and these puppets. We got a little bit of body horror, which Grady Hendrix does so well. And I'm not quite sure exactly what kind of supernatural we're dealing with here, but there is definitely something supernatural going on. So that is definitely piquing my fear factor. It's not necessarily scaring me, but it is for sure creepy. And I am so intrigued to see kind of where the story is going to go after what seemed like could be a climax, but I have over 100 pages left, so I know this is not over yet. And I honestly just can't wait to get back into this. It has definitely gripped me here in the second half, so I am excited to get back into it. I am hopeful that I'm going to finish this tonight. I do still need to do a few things today before I can settle in and start reading again. I spent a lot of time this morning. Hello. I spent a lot of time this morning and this afternoon editing, so I am going to get ready to go on my run, and then I have to pick up groceries. I have to meal prep for the rest of the week, and then I'm going to shower, make dinner, and settle in and hopefully finish this baby up. Hi, baby. Hi. Hello, welcome back. So I did manage to finish How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix last night. The ending was not as spooky as I was hoping it would be. It went in a kind of different direction than I was hoping and expecting. It went more of like heartfelt and familial, which wasn't bad, just wasn't really kind of what I was in the mood for and not what I was expecting. Overall, I did like it. There were some things that I really enjoyed about it, but there were also some issues I had with it. So I will start off by saying that I know that this is a supernatural work of fiction, but there were just some things in this that logically did not make sense. I feel like the fact that it was supernatural and a lot of supernatural phenomenon just simply can't be explained, I feel like that fact was kind of overtly taken advantage of in this. It also felt like the tone couldn't really make up its mind of what it wanted to be, whether it wanted to be, silly, goofy fun or like spooky, eerie, creepy. There were moments where I was like really tense and it was really creepy, but there were also these moments where it was just so over the top that it surpassed scary and kind of went towards comical. I'm not sure if that was his intention. I mean, if it was, good on him. That was a success. But if he was trying to, keep it scary, spooky, I feel like that did fall a little short. And I feel like maybe it was intentional because thinking back on it, he does mention like Punch and Judy, which are like super famous comedic puppets. So maybe he was trying to, give the vibes of like a Punch and Judy show, which I do feel like he succeeded in. But that's just not quite what I was in the mood for. That's not what I was expecting going into this. To no one's fault but my own for not doing my research, honestly. All that to say, it wasn't bad. I really did like it. I thought the familial aspects and the sibling dynamic was done really well, although I could have done with a little bit less of it. That's not really what I was going into this for, but it was well done. There were some really tense, like creepy scenes that I really did enjoy, but I feel like a lot of these scenes surrounding the puppets and the dolls could have benefited from a little bit of subtlety. Definitely not my favorite Grady Hendrix, but I'm not mad at it. I was kind of going back and forth, debating on what I was going to rate this. I think I'm going to land on a 3. It was very middle of the road. It was good. I liked it. It wasn't anything spectacular, and I'm not mad at it. Of course, the question is, did it scare me? And like I said, it did have some really good eerie moments, especially like with this haunted house, which is something that, spooks me to my core. We did get some shocking moments, and I did catch myself, like gripping my face a couple times in anticipation. But overall, no, this did not scare me. Like I said, there were like so many parts of this that were like almost comical in its like over the topness. So yeah, unfortunately, did not scare me. It was not as like spooky scary as I was expecting or hoping it would be, but that's okay. It was still a good read. Still glad I read it. I still liked it. So at the end of the week, at the end of the video, we are ending at a 50%. Not too bad. I got a 4-star read in Pen Pal, and then How to Sell a Haunted House was 3 stars. So pretty good reading week. I also just had such a fun week, not only with these reads, but just going out and doing my, spooky autumnal activities. I truly just love this time of year so much, and it has been such a great week. I would also love to try this experiment again, especially when I have a little bit more time, when I'm able to fit in a few more books. Let me know if you'd like to see a part 2 of this, of me, trying to read some of these scariest books on my TBR. And let me know down in the comments, what is the scariest book you've ever read is. I am always on the hunt for more scary books. Let me know if you've read either of these books and what you thought of them. And if you want to just let me know that you came and hung out for a little bit, you can drop me the scared emoji down in the comments. And while you're down there, like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more from me in the future. And of course, thank you so much for watching. I am so happy you're here. I'm so thankful you're here. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me for another week of my spooky season. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope your Halloween vibes are absolutely immaculate so far. I hope you are loving what you are reading lately, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye, friends.